Bem, bom dia a todos uma vez mais, bem-vindos ao segundo dia, estamos já em direto com o primeiro orador. Welcome to our meeting. Dr. Jernei Pintar is CEO and Head of Tech Community at Technology Park Ljubljana, and he will talk about building ecosystems of innovation. Welcome, and you may speak now. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you very much, and I have to say that was the best pronunciation of my name in foreign countries I have ever heard. I'm really inspired. I've never experienced something like that before. So, wow, this is lovely. I can actually see the audience. This is brilliant. I'm so sorry. Yeah, right back to you. I'm so sorry I'm not able to be there. Slovenia has a very huge COVID spike. We are in a partial lockdown. Wherever I go, I need to go into a hotel for 7 days, so it's better we do it this way. But I did hear that Aveiro is such a beautiful place that I really want to come there someday. And actually, I was planning to bring my family there with my 2 small daughters. Alas, didn't work out, but perhaps in a month or 2, I'll be able to make it. I'm also very grateful that IASP keeps bringing us together, because that was the connection where we got together. And I think Eva is over there also sitting in the audience, and I'm sending greetings to you. Nice to see you. Actually, I see you down there. Yeah, wonderful. Hey. All right. So I have the pleasure that I was asked to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, about communities, and some basic know-how on startup communities and scale-up communities. But before we go into that, just a couple of words. I come from Slovenia. Slovenia is a very small country, only 2 million people. It's also very small geographically. You know, when we wake up, we're not allowed to stretch, because we can cross the border if you stretch too much, you know. We're also not allowed to have army airplanes, because by the time the army airplane would pick up to the sky, it would already be invading Italy or Hungary, you know. So we're not allowed to have aviation or anything like that. But don't worry, we have other things that we are brilliant in, which is we have, I think, the most wine cellars, wine, you know, drinking wine cellars per 1,000 habitat in the world. So this is a Slovenian record in the world. And then another one that we have is we have the most tractors. You know, in agriculture, in the fields, the most tractors per 1,000 population in the world. Everybody in Slovenia wants to have a tractor. It's something really special. I don't know why, but here we go. We have something like that. That's special about Slovenia. Now, perhaps you don't know, but when we talk about who we are, every car in the world has some Slovene parts in it. We are excellent engineers, and also excellent in production. So every part, each of you, which one ever has a car, you have Slovene parts in it. All the ladies that I see sitting in the audience, all the perfumes in the world, when you spray yourself in the morning, that was developed by a Slovene, right? So the whole world uses this. The orbital logarithmics. So whenever space rockets or airplanes or army shells, when they're shooting, whenever they go up, those logarithmic tables were developed by a Slovene guy in the Austro-Hungarian Empire named Vega. There's a star named Vega after him. So it's that. The first pocket calculator in the world was developed by a Slovenian, but that happened in the USA. The team was led by a Slovenian, and then I think also the first in the world that was headed by a Slovenian. So we are small and we cannot stretch, but we are pretty much everywhere around the world. I'm very proud to be from Technology Park of Ljubljana, because we have some wonderful companies here. For example, we have a company named Cozy Lab that are in all particle accelerators in the world, you know, wherever big physics happens and they are measuring collisions. In all such accelerators around the world, there is a company called Cozy Lab. They are pretty much like monopolists for measurement systems in this. Then we have a company that is the leader in lasers. It's called Photona. They're masquerading as an American company, but actually they're a Slovenian company. They have army lasers and medical lasers and stuff like that. Then we have a company that produces in-wheel electric motors for cars, so that the motor is not in front or in the back, but it's in the wheel of a car. And each wheel can produce 200 horsepower. So we have some wonderful companies, but otherwise, as a technology park, I don't think we're very much different than you are. We have real estate that we either rent out or we sell. Then we have support for scale-ups and startups. Then we have a lot of EU projects in green, digital, smart industry, circular, and also blue. I think that's where we are quite similar. Slovenia has long navy history because we're so close to Venice that actually the city of Venice is built on Slovenian wood, you know. So we have a lot of blue as well. So that's us. And then we have some tech projects. For example, Technology Park Ljubljana was the one that made in Dubai Expo. Slovenian Pavilion has internal part is virtual technologies, right? And that was made by our technology park, so we did that. And then the main part, which I guess that's the reason why I'm with you here today, is our communities. We have bad history of not having communities at all. And then suddenly we switched into having communities of startups, scale-ups, vertical communities in health tech, which of course in the last 2 years was completely boosted because health is so important. Then we have communities in blockchain, in virtual technologies, and so on. And so I think this is perhaps the main reason why I would like to go into just some basic know-how, because deeply down through experience, I got to be convinced that you have to build different communities. For example, for startups and for scale-ups. It's good if they meet sometimes, but in general, their needs are so different that you cannot really combine the two words. Just to give you a few examples. Startups, early stage startups, they always require cash. They're always running behind anyone who would have any cash. Cash is the prime motivation. Even if this cash is very expensive. For example, investor cash sometimes is very expensive, but this doesn't matter to startups, right? Then the second thing is they always crave attention. They would go anywhere just to be in the public eye, right? To meet anyone who is important or even semi-important. They crave any kind of attention. They have huge problems with focus. Usually they are in something that Adizes, I hope some of you know Adizes business methodology, they are already in the go-go phase in their infancy. So they're trying to do everything at the same time, which creates an identity crisis already at the age of one day, right? It's a big problem. And then they also have usually a huge problem of not having any business know-how. And I think the most often trap that they fall into is that they are in love with their product. They are in love with the idea, what they want to do, and they are blindly following this idea. Whereas if you compare the scale-ups have learned not to be in love with the idea, but to be in love with the customer. Not follow the idea, but follow the customer. And so if we now take a look at how scale-ups think, it's almost the vice versa. So scale-ups, they have a lot of cash. Being a scale-up means that your business model works. you do not crave all kinds of cash. You are only looking for very specific kinds of cash that will usually not give out the ownership structure and will not be too expensive. So while startups crave any cash, and as soon as there's cash, they're there, scale-ups vanish when it comes to this field, to some general cash issues. I said that startups need attention. Well, those of you who work with scale-ups, you have learned that scale-ups are afraid of attention. They despise attention. They do not want to be in the public eye. They only want the attention in the very, very specific field that they covered. Otherwise, they want their meetings to be closed, to be able to express your pains, to really say what you do, what your pain is, and then get from another scale-up. This is also very important. Scale-ups, the only people they find credible are really, really high professionals and other scale-ups. So for example, I'm sure all of you have also got this general notion that when you try to help a startup, usually you can help a startup with support environment, with things like technology parks, our advisors, our mentors. Startups are grateful for this kind of things. Scale-ups do not trust anyone else except other scale-ups. So when you build a community of scale-ups, you need other scale-ups. And it's not the support environment that gives in the main content, the main solutions. It's other scale-ups that bring these solutions and credibility into the circle. And, of course, as I said, really top professionals. So these are huge changes, huge differences between the startup world, startup communities, which are the anchors that you give to them, and what are the anchors for scale-ups. And then, of course, scale-ups, they have all the business know-how, and they have the focus on the customer. So when you build the two communities, you can overlap them from time to time because it's interesting to meet each other. But otherwise, the needs are so different that if you really want to satisfy them, you need to keep two separate communities because it's different needs, right? And so when we go to scale-up community needs, of course, the main thing that we always see is scale-ups grow really fast. So we have to understand the scale-up psychology. When you grow from 5 people one day, and then 3 months later, it's 15 people. And then half a year later, it's 40 people. And then 1 year and a half later, it's 150 people. You have to know that the culture in the company is very stretched. When you build your family, when you raise your kids, you know how much time it takes you to imprint the values of your family on your kids. You know that. Now, when the company is growing so fast, it means as if you would get 5 new kids in your family every month. So it's almost impossible to keep the culture steady in such a company. And a further problem is that, for example, when you had 5 people in the beginning, 5 founders, let's say, at the beginning they were all strategy and also implementation. And then 1 year later, they don't have operations anymore. Now they're leading operational guys. Half a year later, they're not even leading operational guys, they're leading leaders of operational guys. So they're going up the ladder. And so try to imagine how much have you changed in the last 2 years? Really, how much have you changed? And now imagine how much people in scale-up companies have had to change to cope up with this cultural change, business change, fast pace, and also the style of leadership and absorbing new people. It's crazy. The scale-up world is crazy. They have no time for bullshit, and they have really high problems. This is why very often in Slovenia I say, very often government has a feeling that helping startups is critical because they are so clumsy. But in reality, scale-ups are the fastest running people. And now imagine, who is the first one to trip, to fall down? Somebody who goes slowly and tests every step, or the guy that runs like crazy, doesn't see any roots, anything on the floor, all the leaves, anything that's slippery, and just runs like crazy. Usually it's this guy that falls, right? And so that's why my pitch to all of you is, I think it's really important we have startup communities and support for startups. But I think that very often we forget that the fastest running companies, scale-ups, are actually the ones that are the most in danger, and they also have the most potential for international growth. And the main way to help them is to build a community of companies just like they are, so that they can tell each other, hey, I already tried that, it didn't work. Yeah, I already tried that, no, it doesn't work. If you want it to work, this is how you do it, doop, 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 right? And that's the credibility they bring to the table, right? And so scale-ups, they always need huge amounts of talent. They desperately need leadership skills. They desperately need the right finances, smart loans. And then they desperately need sales and marketing competences for global reach. Not general sales, not general stuff, global reach. So that's what they crave for. And so when you build a community, this is something that you have to build for them. This is the type of what you need to establish, right? And so I think, why to have a community? Why would every science and technology park need a community? It's because when you have a community, even better companies start coming in. So if today you have companies of, I don't know, 1 million, 5 million, as soon as you have 20 of them, suddenly you see the influx of companies of 20, 50, 100 million revenue, right, coming in. Because you have the best people sitting here and other best people want to join in. So it really improves your park because your community everybody wants to get in, right? The second thing is that as soon as you have such strong companies there, we all know it increases your sales potential, what you can sell to them. We all know that when you try to sell to a startup doesn't have cash. You have to bargain with a startup for every 100 euro. It's painful. It's really painful. When you sell to scale-ups don't care for 5,000 euro. They don't care if it's 1,000 or 3,000. If you give them what they want, if you have what they want, they are willing to pay anything. And so when you have a community of scale-ups, it increases your sales potential. You have purchasing power, the real purchasing power, right? And then the third reason I think why it's great to have scale-ups, and this is something that I still have some challenges. I have very strong project teams for European projects in our technology park. And they are so focused on European projects that they forget to listen to scale-ups. But scale-ups are usually the people that detect new trends on a global level 3 years before European Union projects first time propose and start implementing them. So there are early signals of new trends, scale-ups, right? They have the best competences. When you want to, through some European project, when you want to disseminate some top competences, scale-ups have those competences. When you have scale-ups, you have those competences. Right? So having scale-ups increases your project results significantly, right? And then the last reason that I think is also very important is that when you have scale-ups and you can broadcast them as part of your community, it really boosts the PR picture of your park. You are seen as an avant-garde surrounded by the best companies. I mean, it makes you look perfect. You suddenly become like a supermodel, right? So it increases this marketing PR picture of technology park. And I know that many of you have heard that I'm trying to build together, to compose a training program that would train community builders, not only for startup communities, but to build good scale-up communities. I know we all have these scale-up communities to some extent, but imagine what would happen if we would boost them further. And so that's why I would like to come here to the point. I think when you think about your community builders that you want to have in your park, by default, I'm a community builder. Before coming to Technology Park, I have built several other communities. And I've been training community builders for about 10 years now. And I found out that there are some things that you need to have already in the people. If you in your technology park put someone to be a community builder for scale-ups, there are some things that you can train, and there are some things that already need to be in that person. And now I'd like to make this distinction, right? So I think the personal characteristics, something that cannot be taught, you already need to have it in the person, at least to some degree, is you want this person to have a charisma. This person, the community builder that you want to put in to really build your scale-up community or startup community, needs to be a person of charisma. But now comes a special warning. Usually people that have a lot of charisma, they also have a need to be celebrities. They want to be celebrities themselves. And now that's a big problem, because a true community is not the kind of community where everyone's attention is focused to the community builder. No, the real community is where the community builder establishes the links that they are oriented toward each other, that this community builds a special culture. For example, if you have an Oprah show, right? You all know Oprah show, and you take Oprah out of it, well, there's nothing left. And if you will build your community in such a way that you will have a celebrity charisma person in the middle, and then that person changes jobs, switches careers, everything collapses. I have seen this many times. You should not make this. So you need to find a person that has charisma, but does not want to be the focus of attention on themselves, right? Then the second thing that they already need to have is people skills, emotional quotient, not IQ. I'm talking about EQ. Because when you deal with scale-ups, you have to know you're dealing with big egos. These are the guys that made it. These are the guys that don't listen. These are the guys that want to be the top dog, right? And you need these special people skills, this emotional quotient to see, aha, right now he's being cocky. Aha, right now he's vulnerable. So that you know precisely what your approach is going to be, right? So these things, this is something you get through your childhood. You can boost it later, but at least the basic part needs to be in already. Then the third very important quality is that these people need to be able to ensure group fun. Fun is so important. You all know that when you have kids, why is grandma always better than mama? Why is grandpa always better than father? Well, because they provide you love and fun, right? We parents, we always provide the data, the know-how, the structure, the discipline. All right, let's do it like this, right? They provide the fun and the love. And this is in our DNA. This is something you will never change. It's in here, in every one of us. And so if you want to build a community, you need a person that can deliver at least a little bit of this, right? It needs to be in the person. All right, so I think these are the main things that need to be already in the person. These are the pure basics. And now let's go to the skills. What I think we can, how would you say, imprint in this person, in this community builder that we already have. So we can boost all of this, charisma, people skills, methods for group fun, networking solutions and stuff like that. Yeah, we can boost that. But there are also some other skills that we need. And this is, I think, first of all, each community builder needs to know diagnostic skills for life stages of companies so that they can really recognize what the challenge is. Because, you know, when you sit down to for a coffee with an entrepreneur and you listen to him, he tells you challenge A, challenge B, challenge C, and you need to recognize which one is more important. And also, if behind challenge A, there's actually a much bigger challenge behind it. So you need to have these basic diagnostics in your head, right? Then the second thing that you need, and all of this can be, if you have none, if you have no diagnostics skills, we can give them to you. It's something you can learn. It's not that you need to have them already. And then the second thing that you need is solutions. Because when you sit down with a top entrepreneur that has, I don't know, 50 markets open, you need to be able to be at least a little bit credible. So usually it means that when he tells you the challenge B, you say, hey, I know, you know, in that company, they solved this B with this and this and this and this. And he says, oh, really, they did? And then you also deliver, hey, I can connect you with them. Would you like to have a coffee with them? And then they go, wow, oh, yes. Hey, this is your credibility done, right? You have won. That person will be loyal to you. And they will come to all your community events and stuff like that. And then, of course, the last two things that your community builders need is they need to be able to enforce structure. Because working with big egos requires that, yes, you need to be the underdog, but still you have to put structure and rules into your community. Otherwise, it goes berserk and all the best guys will go out. It will be like Wild West, you know, pistoleros, puff, puff, puff. This must never happen to you, right? So we need solutions in that field. And then something that I love, I think everyone who deals with communities should have at least some basic sales know-how. You know, you need to sell. You're there to make some business because you need to have cash to pay for everything that you're doing for your job and then for events and for supports and stuff like that, right? So this sales is really important. This, what I've been talking about is the pure basics, right? What I think when you're building your community teams, try to have at least these basics covered in your teams. Of course, you'll always have more, not just one person, you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the size is, right? You should have these basics covered. And then just for the last spice, I would like to tell a solution that I've been taught by our biggest scale-ups in Slovenia. I was asking not HR departments, but the founders. What kind of people are you looking for? You have to know that the founders, the most strategic people, they usually have completely different filters who they're looking for than HR. HR usually goes through competence matrices, right? And strategic epics, usually it's not that satisfied with that. So the solution, the know-how that they gave me, all of them, now this was really funny, all of them, was really simple. And this is something that I'd like to also pass to you if you find it useful. So when you look for good people, they said, the first thing you want is for them to have a lot of energy. Because if somebody doesn't have energy, they have all the know-how or anything, but if they don't have energy, they will never make a change. So the first filter is energy. This is the main thing. Once you figure out they have energy, they also need the second thing. They need intelligence. The reason behind this is if they only have energy, it's like high energy particle, you know, they can make a lot of damage, really a lot of damage. So if they have a lot of energy, you also want them to act smart, right? Both of these you can test really easily in the first few months. A person that has a lot of energy, you know, today we get challenges. This week we have this challenge, next week another one. A person with energy will be able to go to challenge B. A person that doesn't have energy will always be stuck in challenge A. And they become useless when you solve the challenge A. So energy and intelligence you can fix really quickly. Now comes the third part, which you can never test, unfortunately. Everyone has tried to test it. There are signals, but it's integrity. This is something that comes very slowly. So if you have someone that has a lot of energy, and if you have someone that is very smart, you also have to know that this kind of person can take your company away, can take your community away from you. They can switch sides, they can go to your competition. If they don't have integrity, this is a very dangerous profile because they are so very capable. And so integrity is something that you have to test slowly with some small opportunities where they could be, where they can show if they have this integrity or not, right? Now this is how the strategic people in unicorns, how they pick people. And now comes the fourth one. The fourth bullet point is these people. Now we're talking about complete top. If you're recruiting for people to be in the complete top. At the same time, they have to be super productive, but at the same time, they have to be lazy. As soon as you have this combination, now these are the generals. These are your people to be generals. Why? Because if they have this laziness in them, they are smart and capable enough that they will establish structures below themselves. Because when you have people that are not lazy, they will do everything themselves, right? You will have a person that tries to do everything themselves and they will be stuck in operations forever. But if they are at least a little bit lazy, then they will always create a structure beneath them, right? And so if they are in sales, they will create a wonderful sales process and a wonderful sales team. And the same for development, the same for HR, the same for, you know, for all of that. So if you're picking and looking at top management who wants, who needs to be a general, you need this kind of person. So this would be some very basic know-how that I wanted to cover with you today. I hope it was useful for you. And I'd be really glad if I could get some either questions, feedback, disagreements. Hey, you're free to say, Jerry, I disagree. Hey, I'm always glad to see other kinds of opinions. So if you have any questions or feedback, it's very welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your amazing presentation. And whoever wants can now ask questions to our speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a very interesting question. My name is Jaime. What do you think that open innovation can do in terms of reinforcing the ecosystems?
Did I understand right? Reforesting.
Yes, reinforcing the quality of the ecosystems.
Reinforcing, not reforesting, but reinforcing. Urban tech for reinforce, well, this is a small peewee. It's something that you probably never heard before. It's going to be out of the box, but I think to have I think we all know this for our startups, but we forget to do this in our own companies. It's mistakes. To allow mistakes in our teams, in our communication, in our wider ecosystems. Why am I saying this? Because many teams, many companies, not only technology parks, also our companies, in them mistakes are forbidden. And when you do not allow mistakes, you kill creativity, you kill innovation. Always. People are afraid to do something new, are afraid to bring in new technologies, new solutions and stuff like that. So having a culture where mistakes are not permitted, it shuts down your companies, it kills innovation and creativity. Whenever there's a fire, nobody goes out there to put out the fire. Everybody just puts down the head. No, hey, somebody else should fix that, something like that. Because the only way not to do mistakes is to do nothing. I come from a small village in the Alps. For 30 years, we had one mayor. And in 30 years, that mayor didn't do one mistake, no mistakes. But he also didn't do anything. And by my accounts, that's the biggest mistake of all, because nothing happened in that small village. Later on, the mayor changed, completely different. The mayor of Ljubljana, you would be amazed at how many mistakes there are being done. But you would also be amazed at how many great projects have been done, how people become brave, how they start absorbing change, suggesting innovations and stuff like that, right? So by my accounts, one more sentence here. Very often we forget that even the best leaders in the world, like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and guys like those, they make only 70, or in best cases, 80% of good decisions, and at least 20 or 30% of bad decisions. And if they have 70%, I can tell you, I think I'm at about 55%. I get many things wrong. But I'm not afraid to do them. And I learn, and my percentage through the time is increasing. And I think if we teach our teams, our communities, perhaps a broader scale society, that it's okay to do at least 40% of wrong decisions, because we're looking for 50, 60% of good decisions, then suddenly people become brave. So this is a small opinion that I've been thinking about lately. It's a cultural thing, but culture always takes a long time to change. So let's hope we can do it in a couple of years.
Any other questions?
Hi, good morning, Yarnet. My name is Paulo Santos. I'm currently managing an ecosystem incubation and acceleration ecosystem at the University of Coimbra, here in Central Region in Portugal. And I'm dealing now with challenge, which is we have startups in one hand, so companies with 0, 1, 2, 3 years of life. And on the other hand, we are managing an accelerator. Acceleration for us is for scale-ups, okay? Companies more that have passed the incubation phase are graduated, and then we invited some of them to a new program, an acceleration program intended to promote their internationalization, enhancing their tech innovation and tech development. And we have 2 unicorns now at the accelerator, and we are facing a certain kind of cannibalism,
Okay.
The big companies, the scale-ups, are hiring people,
of course,
taking people from the small ones, the startups.
Of course, yeah.
This is really challenging because the small companies, they feel threatened, and they complain to the manager of the ecosystem. You know, they claim from some kind of protection because they feel they are being, you know, smashed by those companies with more resources. I would like you know, share your impressions, your thoughts about this situation. I don't know if you are facing something similar. Thank you very much.
Of course, it happens everywhere. It's I don't think I have any smart solutions. We have tried, and I very much agree with you, because they perceive that it's your fault they lose people, right? It makes your brand worse. And yeah, of course, it happens to everyone. It's really bad, I agree. Especially, I think this is becoming more acute in the last 2 years, because, for example, in the old times, loyalty is very dependent on relationships and on culture in the company. And in the last 2 years, we have seen people work very much from home. So suddenly there's much less relationship, there's much more online distance, much less culture, which also degrades loyalty very much, right? And so, for example, in our case, we have seen companies that went from very much being online to back in offices, because it increased it renewed the culture. You know, small companies cannot compete with large companies, because larger companies, they have much bigger wages, cash. The brand is bigger. The competence development is bigger. So the only thing, and I think the startups would be attacked even if they would not be part of your accelerator, right?
Yeah, it's an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem, no? So
precisely.
It's
Darwinism. In Slovenia, we have one region that is dominated by 3 large companies, 3 very strong companies, and they steal people from everyone, not from some small communities, from everyone. And so the only way smaller companies can compete is with cultural attitude and mission, right? Those 3 things. But otherwise, I do have a rule in the top tech community, that's our scale-up community. I do have a rule that we do not steal people from each other.
Yeah. Well,
but still it has happened. So
yes, we try to do it by, you know, having a kind of gentleman's agreement, you know.
Yeah.
But you can have it at the top levels between the founders. But what I've observed is when it comes to the HR people at the unicorns, for instance, they don't care. They have their objectives. They need to hire talent, and this is really difficult to maintain this balance. It's even worse if the big company comes from another ecosystem, or from another, for instance, one of the unicorns that it's now there at our accelerator comes from Lisbon. Okay, it's a company that transferred their headquarters to our accelerator, and it's seen as a, you know, it's a foreigner. No, it's a company that is coming from other place. So when there are you know, attacked by companies that are in the neighborhood that were born from the same university, in the same city, they don't feel that bad. But when they feel they are attacked by companies that come from other cities, from other places, from abroad, the feeling is, you know, it's a very high self-defending attitude. No, I've seen in some ecosystems in Israel, for instance, they try to have these gentlemen's agreements, even written, you know. But it's tough.
No, it doesn't work. We also have that.
Doesn't work. It's very tough. Yeah.
No, because talent is so scarce and it's so important that they are willing to sacrifice even written rules. No, I don't think there's really anything you can do about it. The only thing that we do is we try to have meetings where we emphasize the cultural, the values, the mission, the loyalty.
Yeah. It's something you have to manage, but it's something that you won't solve.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Very inspiring, your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much once again for your presentation. You're always welcome to visit us in person here in Portugal. So, hope to hear from you soon. Thank you very much.
Ciao, bye-bye.